All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And I don't even know, as of recording this commentary right now, I don't know exactly what I'm going to title this video. I don't know if I'm going to entitle it something along the lines of The Truth About XDefiant, or Will XDefiant make it, or Why XDefiant Might Not Last, etc., etc., etc. Now, before some of you guys may think that I'm going to be extremely one-sided about this or something like that, or possibly or whatever or whatever the proper terming is, I just want to say that I'm just going to say right off the bat, I 100% want this game to succeed. I want this game to not only succeed, but I want it to basically resurrect this type of franchise and this type of gaming genre. And I'm talking about the arena / arcade first person shooter genre, because it's kind of been all but existent at this point. Really, it just hasn't really, it's really been down bad. It's really low. It's pretty much almost non-existent, in my opinion, in terms of recent times, like over the last 5 years. And before I get started, the inspiration behind this commentary, well, actually, not just the inspiration behind this commentary specifically, but also the thought process behind all this. And this is why I wanted to. The reason why I made this video as well is because I wanted to invite you guys in. I really want your thoughts and opinions on this, because I simply can't fully wrap my head around it. It could be because of one specific reason. It could be because of a multitude of little reasons, or a multitude of reasons, or it just could be a matter of timing. But the big question I have is, why this kind of genre just doesn't seem to last if it's not titled Call of Duty. Now, the inspiration behind this commentary was a recent video made by XCalizors. Now, for those of you guys that may have been around here for a long time will know that I'm a very big fan of XCal. I think he's one of the best to ever do it in terms of what we do here, in terms of whether it's commentary style videos like From the Desk of XCal, which is one of my favorite series. He doesn't do them as much anymore because he just pretty much streams. He's just been streaming over the last handful of years, or however long it's been since he's made consistent videos. And of course, he posts his gameplays in terms of what he does on stream on YouTube on one of his channels, because he's got two of them. But anyway, he's one of my favorite content creators ever when it comes to this sort of thing. And he was talking about XDefiant in his recent video From the Desk of XCal, and a lot really stuck with me in that video, because he quickly reminded me through his commentary, which was 100% logical. It's like, if it's not titled Call of Duty and it's this type of game, it's like, what other, I mean, it's like, for whatever reason, games like that don't last. And the thing is, I have a multitude of questions because of this. It's not just why don't other games like this last, it's more specific. It's like, well, we got a game like Splitgate that seemed to be doing good for a while, and then all of a sudden it just died off. We have Titanfall 2, for instance. I'm not just going to talk about Titanfall 1. I'm going to talk about Titanfall 2, because Titanfall 2 was multi-platform. And on top of that, let's just face it, Titanfall 2 was better than Titanfall 1 in pretty much every single way. Damn good example of a good sequel, if you ask me. So when you're looking at games like Titanfall 1, or excuse me, Titanfall 2, Splitgate, and even if you go back to the old days, you guys, like, obviously PC players will know this more than anybody, but obviously there's a lot of people that are around my age range that watch me as well. So I might as well ask you guys as well. So it's like, and anybody else who's watching, but it's like the old days of Quake, right? I mean, Quake was the shit back in the day, but the community was very small. Gaming isn't anywhere near what it is today. But even in more recent times, when you got Quake Champions, even though it's only on PC and, you know, put everything together, it's like Quake Champions still kind of died off, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, why is it that games like this, of this genre specifically, die off? Is it because some of the games just have a lack of content? Is it because some of these games have certain things in them that that a lot of casual players just can't seem to be into for whatever reason? Is it because Call of Duty's timing was right and it just took everything away? And we got Call of Duty, why would we need this? You know, is that a reason? Or you know, or is it that people just nowadays prefer a more tactical type of shooter or whatnot? You know, because I even watched, I watched an 8 Thoughts video, or should I say the Ghost of 8, before doing this commentary today, as I was coming home from work. And like, the population of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 like according to him in his video, and I'm paraphrasing, it only dropped down by like what 2% or something like that. And again, people watching these YouTube videos, you know, whether you're watching me or whether you're watching someone who's a hell of a lot more popular than me that does the same thing or whatnot, it's like, you know, we're the, like I said before, we're definitely the minority, and that's very factual. I can certainly believe that. And as much as we like to say, as much as we would love to matter, we just don't. It just seems that we just don't matter because we're the minority. You know, we're a very small percentage, which is again understandable, which is the way you look at it. So our voice isn't as strong because we just don't have the numbers, and success equals numbers, numbers equals success when it comes to gaming, right? So it's like, I mean, like for instance, like XDefiant, for instance, is actually doing something very unique. It's in a very unique position, in my opinion. And the reason for this is because it is COD like in terms of like the traditional Call of Duties that we've played before the last handful of years, right? It is more traditional COD like, but at the same time, it's its own thing. So in my opinion, I'm like, in my logic, I'm like, okay, this game does seem to have the correct formula. You know, if you were to do a few additions and omissions and a few changes here and there, this game could really take off and really do some amazing things, right? So it's like, in my mind, I can't help but think that this game certainly has a chance, and I do believe it does. Deep down inside, I do believe it does. But at the same time, you can't ignore historic facts. And there have been other games that were as great as this game could be, and what it's striving to be and what it's aiming to be, that simply just didn't make it for too long. They really didn't. Like about 6 months to a year, or a maximum of a year and a half or so later, a lot of these games died. Like Splitgate did a great job for a while, and then that was gone. And then Titanfall 2, a game that I tremendously love. And XCal in his video also mentioned another game that I didn't think about that I actually agree with, and I actually did play it. I mean, I didn't stick with it for very long because it wasn't quite as fast paced as I would have liked, like Call of Duty, for instance. But I mean, maybe if I stuck with it a little bit longer, that might have changed or whatnot, and I could have figured it out. But the thing is, like ultimately, Battlefield Hardline, I mean, I know it wasn't like, I know a lot, it pissed off a lot of Battlefield fans. It's like Battlefield tried to take a step back and be like, hey, okay, let's inject some of this Call of Duty DNA into our game, and there you go, you got Battlefield Hardline. But just to name a game again, Battlefield, for instance, that game was good. Like when I look at the way XCal describes it, it's like, yeah, Battlefield Hardline actually was a great game. It was a game that actually invited Call of Duty players to come in and play it and just give us a different flavor of what they offered. Again, quite different, very, very different, but at the same time very similar. It's like it was trying to be that middle ground between Battlefield and Call of Duty. So it's like, in my eyes, I mean, that would make sense, but at the same time, it's like maybe people didn't like that combination. And this is where I get very, well, I don't want to say confused, but this is where I get conflicted, right? Conflicted in terms of what was the reason, or what were the reasons why some of these games just died off. And I know that there are people that watch my stuff that are from the PC community. I know that there are people that are from the console community, and I know that there are people that are both, or that used to be on and went to another. Okay, so the thing is, I really want to let you guys in, because the truth about XDefiant is the fact that this game has every single bit of potential that you can ask for when it comes to an arcade arena, fast-paced first-person shooter, right? From a development standpoint, as well as a community standpoint, because a lot of community members, right? A lot of community members, big and small. Like I'm a very small community member that is a content creator. But there's also been much larger content creators that have also been supporting this game. But going back to what 8 Thoughts said earlier, it's like only 2% of the population, Modern Warfare 2, has dropped down. So, so the thing is, like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, it just goes, it really put things in perspective and in context. It's like it just goes to show you just how small we are. So the thing is, like, we could praise the game, right? We could praise this game and support the game 100%, which is great. It's something that I'm going to do, and I'm sure a lot of other content creators are going to do as well. But the thing is, we're just such a small number, man. If the casual community does not like this game for whatever reason, like, this game could die off as well. I don't want it to, but at the same time, I'm also trying to figure out what it is exactly that makes a game die off, or what are the reasons. You know, obviously some of these answers are very how do I put this? Obvious, right? There are some obvious answers as to why some games die down or whatnot, like for instance the lack of content and stuff like that. like for instance in Halo Infinite, not having a team deathmatch on launch was a huge mistake, right? As well as obviously there's desync and all that kind of stuff, and plus the content and the way they were going at it and stuff like that. I mean, like again with Halo Infinite, again it's an arena shooter, right? And that one died off after a few months. I don't want that to happen with this game. I don't want that. As a matter of fact, because I'm a supporter of games and I'm a supporter of the developers, maybe not certain publishers, but I'm not a supporter, but I am a supporter of developers, right? Because again, the developers have this vision and they work their butts off to create these games. It just so happens that the publishers just end up injecting the corporate DNA into the game, which more often than not results in disaster. But from a development standpoint, when you have developers and you have developers that are allowed complete freedom, you know, you've got a work of art. And I'm a person that supports that work of art, because these guys truly dedicate themselves, their time and all that kind of stuff into the game, and I greatly respect it. Even if the game doesn't succeed, it's like you got to give these people props for trying. And these guys over here that are making XDefiant, they're not only trying, but they're also like being as transparent as you could possibly be in a genre like this, and at a time like this where we're getting publishers and other developers that are not quite as transparent as these guys are setting. Like, these guys are setting the bar. I've said this on Twitter too. It's like these guys are setting the standard in the bar and the tone in terms of like with their transparency alone, which is something that I, for one, am very grateful for, especially as a former Call of Duty player and somebody who more recently spent like a shit ton of time playing Halo Ranked in Infinite. I very much, and again, I've played Splitgate as well. I mean, look at Ironsight, for instance, for PC. There's obviously a community that is playing that game, which is great, but you've only got like what, like maybe a few thousand people at most online or something like that. I haven't checked the numbers. It's been a while since I played anything on PC, but you guys get the point. I mean, I want there to be a community supporting this game, and I want this game to be able to last, no doubt about it. But like, but I just can't fully wrap my head around as to why games of this kind of genre that are not called Call of Duty die off, or similar to games like this. And that's why I wanted to pass it on to you guys, because like, for instance, when you go back to like the OG days, like Quake, for instance, right? Or more recently, Quake Champions, right? Even though that game came out a while ago, but still more recent than, you know, the 90s. But like, for instance, like Quake Champions is great. It's a great game. It's an arena shooter. It's fast paced. But at the same time, it's very difficult. Like, if you were to let's say, for instance, right, you're a fan of first-person shooters. If you were to dedicate yourself playing Quake right now in this day and age, playing Quake Champions, and then let's say you were to come back and play, let's say, a game like XDefiant, or like, let's say, a game of, you know, classic Call of Duty, right? And you were just to go get back on there and play just for shits and giggles, it would seem easy, because Quake is just that difficult. It's harder to hit your target and to be consistent at it. It's you know, there's a lot of fast movement and strafing and stuff like that. There's no camping involved, so you have to outstrafe your opponent while being very accurate. And then you have to be really fancy and unpredictable with your movement as well, and all that kind of stuff. But but at the same time, you can't like customize your loadout or create classes or anything like that. And there's bunny hopping as well, which is another form of advanced movement, right? And first-person shooters that are ones that are like boots on the ground, like this one over here, do have some form of advanced movement. Granted, it's nerfed compared to jetpacks and stuff like that, but you know, and again, going back to the older Call of Duties, like, we all know that Black Ops 3 is the most popular and most successful out of the jetpack Call of Duties. I think all of us can agree on that, right? I do have a soft spot for Infinite Warfare. There's no doubt about it. I also even have a soft spot for Advanced Warfare, because I actually like what they did. I mean, they kind of missed the mark, right? But the thing is, at the same time, I really like what they did, because like, well, back in the day, you know, camping was before, like with Call of Duty Ghosts, camping was kind of, you know, a problem with Call of Duty. I mean, granted, it's not as bad as it is today, but you get the point. But then all of a sudden, Advanced Warfare comes out, and despite the skill-based matchmaking and all that other stuff going on, like, you could, like, it pretty much got rid of camping in Call of Duty. People were moving around and shit. So it's like, you know, there are aspects of some of these Call of Duty games that were not as successful, for instance, that I really, really loved. And the reason is why did some of these jetpack CODs, for instance, why did those die down? I mean, Infinite Warfare was a lot like Black Ops 3 with some changes here and there, but Infinite Warfare was like Black Ops 3 Infinity Ward style. And Advanced Warfare was Advanced Warfare, and then Black Ops 3 was obviously Black Ops 3. But the thing is, like, why, like, people love Black Ops 3, but the thing is, even with Black Ops 3 being as good as it is, did it have the numbers that some of the other previous Call of Duties had or whatnot, or what these Call of Duty numbers have? You know, that's what I'm kind of wondering. I'm like, is it because of the advanced movement? Is it because it's too difficult for your casual audience? And what I mean casual audience, I'm not talking about the people that are watching YouTube. I know that Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all these different forms of media are more popular than ever now. But do you really think that your average casual first-person shooter player, right, the one that only has a handful of hours out of the week to dedicate to gaming, give or take, right, at the most, do you think that they're gonna, by any chance, possibly watch any one of my videos or any one of, let's say, a bigger content creators' videos out there? Do you think by any chance that there's gonna be, like, and if there are a handful of them, that's just a very small percentage of that community that would, like, let's say, watch a video that is from me or somebody else that's bigger than me, right? So it's like it's like a completely different crowd with a completely different taste and all that kind of stuff. And that's something, I think that's the reality we have to keep in mind. But at the same time, one like me who's been playing these types of games for years now, and what inspired him to make this YouTube channel 8 years ago, it's like, I actually legitimately wonder, like, why is it that this genre, if it's not titled Call of Duty, why is it that this genre just does not last? Because and again, I wanted to make this because I do not want XDefiant to not last, right? I want it, if anything, you know, like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I said something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing myself here, I said something along the lines of that this game could start out pretty good, but it'll have a slow start, and then all of a sudden it could grow from the word of mouth and stuff like that. And then now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, is us, like, are we, like us, the people that are watching these videos, consistently watching these videos, maybe popping in streams here and there, like, are these types of, like, are we enough? I mean, history has shown that the answer seems to be no. So it's like, why do these games not die down? Like, and even if a very casual player that hardly plays, you know, like, if you're like a casual or whatnot, it's like, I even would want to know, if I could get a whole bunch of people in that category in here, I would, and ask them for myself. It's like, what is it about this game that you don't like, or what you do like? Because even if devs were to have like some sort of Twitter poll out there asking questions about this, right? Like, what, you know, what would they say? It's like, it's still a small sample size. I'll give you one more example that I just thought of off the top of my head right now while I was literally commentating. Ed Boon did something. He put a poll a while ago about Mortal Kombat. He did a poll asking about the which mode would you want to return the most that's been implemented in the past. Well, and what was it? It was Conquest mode, Motor Combat, which is like Mortal Kombat's version of Mario Kart, so to speak. Puzzle fighter combat, or chess fighter combat, right? And the majority vote of 44% won, what was it? Won Conquest mode, right? But it was a 24-hour vote, obviously, right? So, and I believe the amount of people that voted on that were less than 100,000 people. As a matter of fact, I'd probably say like between 50 and 70,000, I believe, if my memory serves correctly. But you want to know how many sales Mortal Kombat 11 had? Like, I think 20,000. I'm sorry, 20 million, maybe slightly less. I could Google it right now, but I don't want to waste your guys' time and stuff like that. But it was in the millions. Think about it. Like, you're talking tens of millions of copies sold, but yet when the main guy behind Mortal Kombat, who's in charge of Mortal Kombat, does a really important type of poll like that, you're getting 50 to 60,000 in votes, which is, you know, a pretty good vote size. But at the same time, there are millions upon millions of other people that are not even aware of that vote. So if those people were aware of that vote, maybe that vote would have been different. Seriously. And the question is, would a lot of those people even know what he was talking about in terms of chess combat and all that kind of stuff? I mean, you know, because if it was more recent times, it's like, what's chess combat? When was chess combat in Mortal Kombat? Or what's motor combat? What's that? You know, just to throw something else out there. So it's like, this is kind of the problem with this genre, and this is the kind of hurdle or whatnot that XDefiant actually is facing. It needs and needs to overcome, and it's much easier said than done, because even with the game working the way it should, with the servers up and everything like that, and all the bells and whistles, and they can listen to every single one of our requests and grant those requests. And it's like, okay, if you got like 100,000, or like, let's say 100,000 to like 500,000 people playing, obviously the game is doing well, and it's surviving, right? But the thing is, when you're talking about, like, when you're having millions upon millions of people playing certain types of games, and then a lot of those people drop, it's like, well, like in Halo, for instance, right now we've got like only like a handful of like maybe 5,000 people at peak times, give or take, playing that game, and that's from PC alone. But I can't imagine console being too much more, compared to the, over millions of people that used to play, which is quite a difference. And again, I'm also curious as to what it would take in terms of how many players would this game, like XDefiant, need to survive, to consistently keep going, and to try to grow and thrive from there. I wonder what that minimum number would be. And I remember Mark Rubin saying that they got like over double or something like that of the numbers that they expected of people to play. Like, I think I saw on Twitter that there were like 1 million or over 1 million people playing on XDefiant, which was great. 1 million, that's very solid. And now we've got and what's it called? And if they said they were only expecting half, so let's just say 500,000. Would this be a number that would help XDefiant survive, like, or thrive, or get to a point to where it could sustain itself for however long it decides to get support from the devs, which the devs themselves have said time and time again that they would they want to support the game for a while. They don't just want to make it and then be done with it. They want to support it for a long time. So I'm thinking to myself, like, is 500,000 that kind of sweet spot to where the developers can continue to get funded and paid properly and all that kind of stuff, and have the opportunity to make the game even better, and therefore hopefully get more of a population playing, like, as well as the amount of players that are needed in order to keep the game going. It would appear that 500,000 would be that number, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. And again, this isn't 2013 anymore, right? To where 500,000 is the number that it used to be. Back in the day, 500,000 is the equivalent of, like, I don't know, a few million now. I'm assuming, give or take. I don't know. But you got to take all these things into account. So if you would please, and I apologize for this commentary lasting too long, but I wanted to get it all out there. But the thing is, if you could please help me try to figure out the answer to this question. It's like, why games like this, or games of the past that were kind of like this, like, why didn't they make it? We're talking about Titanfall, Splitgate, even Iron Sight, the Call of Duty clone that's on PC, all these things. So I personally think, just before we end it here, or before I close, I think it's actually more of like a combination of reasons, and more of a combination of specific reasons. Whether it's because of the advanced movement, the slight advanced movement in the game, or because it was only on a single platform, or maybe people just didn't like advanced movement, but only good players did, and the casual players did not. I think there were specific reasons as to why, or a combination of reasons. That's the thing. But it's like, there's got to be something, because all of these genre of games, in whatever flavor they come in, just don't seem to last, because Battlefield Hardline was boots on the ground. Iron Sight is boots on the ground, and then you've got some advanced movement with the other games, even a game like Halo 5. And again, Halo Infinite, which is, it's got some advanced movement, but it's very minimal compared to Halo 5. So it's like, I can't help but keep thinking, and these are great games too. You've got legit games out there that literally, for whatever reason, aren't given too much of a chance, a few months after their release, and then they're done, So, and the thing is, it's even worse when the smaller part of the community, us, the people that are like the hardcore gamers, right? Even though some of us are more casual than others, but the ones that truly care about it and are hardcore or above average, that watch these YouTube videos and take that extra time, watch streams, and take the extra time to find out what it takes to get better and put that time into practice. So it's like, even when we don't support a game, then it truly gets worse. But then when we do, it seems like because we're such a small number, it has such a minimal impact. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, these developers are looking out to pros in order to help them develop the game, which is only 1%, the top 1% of the entire less than 1% of the entire community that plays the game. So I'm thinking, well, you know, maybe we could make an impact, or maybe I'm wrong, but at the same time, I'm trying to look at it from every single point of view. So please let me know down in the comment section below about this. I would greatly appreciate it. And I got to figure out, while I upload this, I got to figure out what the hell to call this and how to make the thumbnail as well. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this this video for what it was, this commentary. And what are your thoughts overall about this? I would really like to know. And I don't care if you are the most casual of the casual. I don't care if you are someone who's like even a professional player or whatever it is. Not that I don't think any professional player would even know I exist on the platform for that matter. But please let me know. I would really like to know. And hopefully, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if again, hopefully even a developer watches this, you know, because Mark Rubin, as we know, has been really active on Twitter, and he's even been responding to like little guys like myself. So anyway, that pretty much concludes the commentary. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.